Hello and welcome to another episode of Blue Alpine TV. In today's episode, we will talk about banks and governments regulating or even banning cryptocurrency and why one of the biggest payment processors in the world is stopping its Bitcoin support. But let's first get started with a short look on the market. A lot of sideways movement generally going on. The market seems a bit undecided whether it should go down entirely, cross the 9,000 mark in terms of Bitcoin, or even go back up to its pre-Christmas highs. So some coins are actually increasing a lot in value, some are decreasing a lot, and this is connected to different news that we will also talk about soon. I've heard different opinions on the potential price of Bitcoin. I've heard some technical traders saying that unless Bitcoin crosses either 8,500 down or 15,000 up, they won't trade anything else. So they want to see kind of a retesting at 8,500 or even breaking the 15K barrier in order to really say that this bearish market is over and ready to go up again. So let's jump right into the first story. Cryptocurrencies should not be banned, CEO of Russia's largest bank. Hermann Gref, he's the head of Sberbank, which is the biggest bank in Russia. He has always voiced his concerns on banning cryptocurrencies in Russia and was always a bit against it. And here in this article, it basically says that he still believes Russia shouldn't ban or shouldn't unnecessarily regulate cryptocurrencies in any way. It is something that it's important for Russia and for them, for the banks to really understand what this hype is all about before actually trying to regulate it in any way. And he says before trying to regulate it, it's necessary to maintain a normal background around the blockchain technology and cryptocurrency. It is necessary to explain to people that it does not store value, but right now is rather a very dangerous thing like a lottery or a casino. Obviously, as the head of the bank, even though he holds some Bitcoin, he has to come out with a statement that is fairly strict and that Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies in general tend to be quite volatile, risky, and basically means that he has to play both perspectives. So on one hand, he believes in cryptocurrencies. It seems at least that he believes in cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology. So he definitely thinks that we should understand the technology and actually let it develop to wait and see to what it will turn into before actually banning it entirely. But on the other hand, he's the head of the biggest bank in Russia, so he has to protect the bank's interests as well. So he has to say something like dangerous thing, gambling, casino, all of these things. And let's be honest here, when we look at the market in general, there has been a lot of irrational things that happened in the market, a lot of highs, a lot of crazy lows. And for people who are used to a more structured environment where maybe even a downfall of 5 to 10% is quite high, in crypto, we are used to seeing minus 30, minus 40, minus 50% in one day, and it's just another day in the office for us. So for him, obviously, it's still a bit too volatile, and he has to protect that perspective. On the other hand, you have some voices from Davos. So right now, the World Economic Forum in Davos in Switzerland is going on, and it was to be expected that there will be quite some controversial statements from both sides. From one hand, more of the conservative approach of, we need to regulate it, we need to tax it, we need to even ban cryptocurrencies. And on the other hand, actually technologists coming out and saying, hey, this is a technology that will revolutionize the world and bring generally the world more technological advancement rather than taking anything away from the current state. So we have here on one hand Joseph Stiglitz, he's a world-renowned known economist, and on the other hand you have the president of the National Bank, or the chairman, Thomas Jordan. And on one hand you have Stiglitz saying we have a good medium of exchange called the dollar, we can trade in that. Why do people want Bitcoin? And it is for secrecy. Now this is an argument that we hear a lot: secrecy, people trying to do illegal things with Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies and trying to hide stuff away from the governments and the banks. But let's not forget, a lot of the illegal trade, if not all the illegal trade, if we exclude a small amount that is done in cryptocurrencies, still a majority of any kind of illegal trade, any kind of secrecy that goes on in the financial markets is being done with the dollar. I think I read this statistic that said only 0.1% of the entire drug trade in the world is dealt with in cryptocurrency. That still means 99.9% of the entire drug trade in the world is done with fiat currency, so the US dollar. And nobody comes out and says, well, somebody's trying to hide from the government. No, I mean, drug trade and illegal things go on whether the medium is the dollar, a medium of exchange is the dollar, or anything else. So I don't really see the argument there. Then Thomas Jordan comes out with a softer argument, saying there is an important principle: similar activities should be similarly regulated. He told listeners, and Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies have some characteristics of other investment instruments. You can't, on the one hand, heavily restrict cash, and on the other hand, permit fully anonymous instruments that to a great extent can be used for all manner of transactions. He again comes from a banking perspective, saying that, yeah, this could be regulated and taxed like derivative products. Obviously, the banks see potential gains, potential commissions, potential fees that they could raise. We've seen in the last few days, Coinbase came out and actually beat their revenue goal and made $1 billion in revenue in 2017, which is huge for, first of all, for a business, and second of all, for such a young business, and third, for a cryptocurrency exchange. So obviously the banks are listening now and observing the entire market and trying to understand how they can grab a piece of the pie, and they're taxing, regulating, and banning. Not necessarily banning is, I think, more of a radical approach, but regulating and taxing, I think we will see first. There will for sure be countries that will ban it entirely. I don't think modern countries will ban it, and even though probably just for a short term. So I'm still, we are generally still pretty bullish on cryptocurrencies in total. And again, if you believe in the fundamentals of certain coins, you should invest in them with a long-term horizon. You shouldn't invest based on news like this, and people who don't really have a lot of ideas about technology, about blockchain, about cryptocurrency shouldn't really influence your thinking there too much. But I guess as long as the World Economic Forum is going on, and as long as we don't really have a clear voice and clear decision, clear pathway on how we're going to regulate and deal with this whole thing, that there will still be quite radical and negative opinions on these topics. And I don't think we should in any way let that be a downer in any way. We should still invest into the fundamentals of the coins that we believe in, but by doing proper research and really supporting the teams that are doing great work. Now, moving on, one of the biggest payment processors, Stripe, a Silicon Valley company, very well funded. PayPal is in there. Other banks are in there. Banks like I think Wells Fargo is also one of their partners. And Stripe makes it really easy to accept payments on websites. It's very developer focused. So Stripe came out a couple of years ago by supporting Bitcoin. 2014, they became the first major payment company to support Bitcoin payments. And yesterday they wrote an article on their blog saying that they will end the Bitcoin support. So if you have a website, or if you had a website, generally you could select the currency you accept. And there you were able to accept Bitcoin as a currency and set the price for a product, for a service, whatever. And that was actually quite cool. I know that we used it on our website as well, on Blue Alpine Research, for the yearly subscriptions. In the meantime, we've switched to another company as well, but we still use Stripe for the fiat currency payments. So on Blue Alpine Research, you can buy both in Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Dash, and Litecoin, as well as in fiat currency for the yearly subscription. And Stripe makes it quite easy to implement it. So that's so on the first side, this looks like a more negative news for developer community, for people who actually believe in Bitcoin as a currency. But they are arguing that the transaction confirmation times have risen substantially, and this has led to increase in the failure rate of transactions denominated in fiat currencies, and all of these things. So the fees are higher, transaction times take longer, and for a payment processor like Stripe, this is a huge deal. Obviously, people were probably complaining and were annoyed that it takes that much of time. And that is one of the reasons, or I would say the main reason, why Stripe decided to go against it. Now, there is actually another very strong reason why Stripe would end Bitcoin support. And before going into the actual currency that I think will be supported by Stripe, so they're mentioning we're interested in what's happening with Lightning, as are a lot of people. So the Lightning network will definitely bring some positive changes to the Bitcoin network. So we will see. Omise Go is an ambitious and clever proposal. More broadly, Ethereum continues to spawn many high potential projects. So they're looking at Omise Go, Ethereum, Lightning, probably Bitcoin Cash and Litecoin, because both Bitcoin Cash and Litecoin have taken the good side of Bitcoin and removed kind of the bad side, such as the long transaction times, the high fees. So both Litecoin and Bitcoin Cash are quite quick, have low fees, great to do transactions in. Now, the most interesting one here in this group is Stellar Lumens. I've mentioned here on the podcast before, we've written a report on Stellar Lumens as well. Stripe, the payment processing company, has actually invested in Stellar. He says here, to which we provided seed funding. So Stripe currently holds around 2 billion Stellar Lumens. So obviously they wouldn't want to support any other currency as their main currency. Now the problem with Stellar is that it's not widely accepted yet. But I know that the developer community and Stellar as a company is actually really focusing on bringing payments and micropayments into this world and making it really widely adopted. So there is a very strong chance that Stripe will support Stellar in the future. Stellar also has to still announce the roadmap for the coming years. So the current Stellar roadmap is quite old. It's from 2015 and it hasn't been updated yet, with goals of focusing on Africa and focusing on remittances and other types of payments. So there is definitely an interesting so let's just say let's wait for the roadmap from Stellar to really understand, is there an option of Stripe and Stellar working together? If yes, how? And all of these things. I've also read on Reddit that one of the Reddit co-founders, Alexis Ohanian, was posting in the Stellar Lumens subreddit saying that it's quite an interesting coin, and there is a potential of Reddit Stellar in implementation as well. On Reddit, you can give gold as an upvote or like a type of gift, and it is quite possible that Stellar could be implemented as a type of micropayments on a site like Reddit. We won't know for sure, obviously. So I would say let's wait for the roadmap and let's wait for what exactly Stripe will do as their next steps. So he says here they will pay close attention to the ecosystem in general, and then depending on the opportunity will do moves. So I don't think this is necessarily bad news from Stripe's side. I think it's strategically a smart move, and I'm really excited about what's coming next for Stripe, both as a company and both for the cryptocurrency ecosystem. Now, with this news, actually, Stellar jumped quite a lot. So Stellar gained around 15% because of these news. So there is people are actually believing and think same with Omise Go, by the way. So people think that it is quite a good chance that Stellar Lumens will be implemented on Stripe's side. I would still say read the report, make your own decision on what you think about Stellar, and depending on that, do your investment, and not depending on some rumors that you might have heard. So there is a chance, yes, but it is not confirmed. So it might as well be Bitcoin Cash. So we won't know for sure until it's official, and when it's official, it's already priced in. So if you make your bets accordingly and read the reports and make your judgments based on that. And with that, I would like to end today's episode. There is a high chance that tomorrow I will release the third episode of buying Litecoin on an exchange, setting up a Ledger Nano S hardware wallet, and then actually transferring those Litecoins to a hardware wallet. These are beginner videos, so if you know anyone who is interested in buying any kind of big cryptocurrency like Bitcoin, Litecoin, or Ethereum, and wants to really understand how hardware wallets and wallets in general are working, then please send them this interview series or video series, and I will see you with a normal video soon. So don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and comment down below and let me know how you like the videos. See you soon.